Hi guys, Joe here with Kilo Inc. and for today's video we're doing something special. I'm going to go over the process of how I make and design a card game. I'll try to focus and talk about all the major aspects and try to get some of the minor details that aren't immediately obvious when it comes to making a card game. Now I'm specifically talking about card games, but many of these ideas can and probably should be used when making any project that you really plan to have others enjoy. I've been making card games since, oh god, I don't even know, a long time. But that doesn't mean I'm perfect. A lot of nuance, a lot of ideas, there's a lot of variables that can go into making a card game. Even though I've been making card games for a long time, there's plenty of stuff that I don't even fully understand about the medium, stuff that I just don't have the ability to fully grasp. I'm just a one guy working on my games. There's going to be flaws, there's going to be things missing, there's going to be problems, things that I just can't see. There's no way to future-proof everything. Some of these ideas might be half-baked. This is the first time I'm really trying anything like this, so don't expect it to be perfect, but I'm still trying to get it to be perfect, if that makes any sense. So how I design my games has actually drastically changed over, well, the last couple of years especially, but even throughout my entire life, my process of designing a card game has changed multiple times throughout my life. Really, before 2020, I didn't have a consistent process. I'd just start a project, play it a few times with Devin, then get bored of it, or realize it was fundamentally flawed. So once I started doing digital card games, I very quickly realized that this is something that I can actually make a card game that can be playable, that others can enjoy on tabletop or, through print and play methods. So now I actually have to put way more effort, and I really enjoy that. That's a lot more fun. I really enjoy balancing cards, but my process had some major flaws, and there's two major reasons why my previous process of just kind of going hog in and just starting wherever I wanted, wherever I thought was best, was flawed. So the main reason was all the work I would put into a game would be wasted because it simply wasn't fun, or because I just grew bored of it and I just would want to move on to something else, another project. That's a really big deal, because if you're wasting hours upon hours every day, that adds up very quickly throughout the week, and it's a cycle of defeat where you're putting in all this effort and then you realize, oh, this isn't working out, but you've put in all the effort already that it's like, well, I don't want to stop, I want to try to fix it, but it's fundamentally flawed from the beginning. You can't fix it, you have to start over, but you don't want to because you've already put in all this work. So it's just a very vicious cycle that if you get into can be very devastating. So this leads into the other reason, which I'm not entirely sure if this is the correct way of how I view this or how I feel, but it would be damage to my confidence is how I'll put it. Usually I have a lot of passion for my projects, and when said projects don't turn out to be fun, or they fail, or I just get bored of them, it can be hard to understand and just look at it from a non-creator standpoint and from a player standpoint of why this failed, why this wasn't fun. It's really disheartening when you have project after project after project that just doesn't work out, that wasn't fun, that neither of you want to play. Putting all this effort into a project that isn't going to be fun was the problem. Now that I've explained how I've gotten to this process, I think I should actually explain the process itself. So before you start finalizing your game, like finishing artwork, perfecting the balance, you need to test your ideas, try out your concept, see if your game's fun, see if the ideas are coherent and they work well together. You also need to think about how you want your players to feel as they play your game, what they achieve, what happens, what will the goal be, how will players interact with one another, how will you win, how do you want your deck building to work. These are just a couple of things to think about when formulating your concept, when testing out your ideas. It would be a good idea to write down your ideas, the rough concept, the rough designs of a lot of cards and anything that you would think is important in a notebook or some kind app on your phone or the computer. I like to use spreadsheets. I also have a bunch of notebooks that I write in. Having a place where you can organize thoughts, write down ideas. Writing something down can sometimes help you understand it a little better, and it helps you realize, okay, well, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Or you can always come back to it and look at it, oh, I actually really like this idea. Let me take this and try this out now. There's an infinite world of possibilities when it comes to game design, and a whole host of games that have years of experience that you want to use. Once you actually figure out those core goals, those core ideas, you really want to look at similar games for inspiration and to see what they did well, what mechanics they added down the line, how you could modify and improve their ideas, but most importantly, learn from their mistakes. Everything is based off something. Everything is inspired by something. And inspiration is completely different from carbon copying. You can use the foundation that other card games have made for themselves over the years to give yourself a head start when it comes to making your card game. So again, there's all sorts of different ideas, different concepts that you can try and see what works. There's plenty of dueling games where two players spawn creatures to fight each other and win by dealing enough damage to a hero or the enemy player. But even in these games, there's inspiration, adaptation, innovation, and uniqueness. Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic play very similar, attack directly enough to win, while games like Pokemon or Chaotic relies on you defeating a set amount of your opponent's creatures. The life bar has been split between multiple sources, giving the game more options for strategy and design in the latter half, like Pokemon and Chaotic. But that doesn't mean there still isn't strategy in games like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic. How many lands do you want to put in your deck so that you have an even balance, so that you're not, I think it's mana screwing and mana flood? And then in Yu-Gi-Oh!, what are the best cards to get to your combos as quickly as possible? And even between Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a one creature, normal summon, and then you get all the special summons, whereas Magic has the mana system. There are also dueling-like games that just don't have a health system, like Gwent, where you win by having a higher total, I believe. I don't know if that's per row or just in general. It's been a while since I've seen Gwent. Or the upcoming Disney Lorcana, where, if I'm remembering correctly, you send cards to gain points. There are plenty of unique ideas, mechanics, and styles that you can use to make your game stand out. You don't even need to make a dueling game. There's plenty of other games, cooperative games, there's solo games, there's thousands of different ideas, thousands of different styles. You can pretty much make whatever you want. You just got to make sure it's fun, it's coherent, it all fits, a central theme or themes. It all depends on what you change, improve, and rework. Once you have an idea for a game, you can finally start making test versions. Start by getting all the required information that you'll need onto a blank white card. Don't worry if you forget something or want to change, add mechanics down the line. The whole point is for these to be easily changed and edited. If you use a blank card or a blank substitute for a card, it makes it a lot easier to add ideas down the line. If you need to make edits, you can just scribble things out. Don't worry about art, pictures, balance. Just worry about getting key ideas and see if those key ideas function and work and are fun. Once you actually make those test cards, make sure to play a few rounds, especially with as many people as you can get. That way you can get feedback from a larger group of people, which includes a larger variety of play styles. So you'll have people who like to play more aggressive, you'll have people who like to play more defensive, more tactical, more, ramp if that's available, You'll have people who have different ways and different wants and needs to play, so you'll be able to get a larger understanding of what cards combo well off each other, what ideas are working, what ideas aren't. So make sure you get the larger the play test, the better. And again, while you're playing with these test cards, don't focus on individual balance between the cards, but rather how the flow of the game feels. Is your cost system functioning how you want? Is it too slow, maybe too fast? Are you running out of cards too quickly or not using enough cards in a turn? What about the victory condition? Is it easy to achieve? Maybe the game's taking too long. Should you add a second victory condition to cater to different play styles? Look at the fundamentals of your game. Get feedback to know what worked, what didn't, which parts were fun, what needs improvement, etc. Again, don't focus on balance or art or any of the frivolous aesthetics. The art and balance and all that can be improved down the line, down the pipeline. But once you start making an official version, official cards, cards that you're going to be like, this is where I'm going to start working on the project. This is where my ideas are finalized. Once everything's finalized, it'll be a lot harder or even impossible if you have too many cards down the line to change fundamental rules. Now that you've finished testing your game and have hammered out any kinks, you can start putting effort into the art of your game and the balance. This is where the fun begins, in my opinion. Now really all you have to do is find an even ground between balance and fun. Depending on how you get access to your cards will dictate how you balance your game. Do you have different rarities, booster packs with random selection of cards, or do you have factions that have pre-made decks? How you decide to ship your game can also change how you balance it. Regardless, your goal now is to make cards, but that doesn't mean it's your only job. For me, I play my game while I'm working on it, which allows me to balance previous cards while testing out the new ones. So you made the cards. Now what? And honestly, that's really up to you. Was the project purely for your enjoyment? Then you're done. Hopefully you made enough cards for you and a friend to play, but that should be all you really need to do. But maybe you want to share it with the world. You could post it to Tabletop Simulator like I do, or any other board gaming simulator. I'm sure there's others. You can make videos about it on YouTube or any other digital platform. How about going to a more professional route and selling it on like a Game Crafter or other sites where you can sell your cards? Maybe you even want to make a standalone game on Steam and sell it digitally. Do you plan or want to continue the game? Do you want to make extra sets, extra content for the game, or move on to another project? It all depends on you, where you want to go and how you want to expand from this. Regardless of what you do, you have the experience and knowledge from this game to help improve you next. Always learn from your mistakes. Never regret them. There will always be things you overlooked or thought would be cool but nobody else did. As a creator, you have a different perspective for your game, which can be both a very great and awesome thing, but can also be a bad thing. Sometimes your perspective helps to innovate and improve the game, while your ego hinders and continues bad ideas or mechanics because you think they're cool, or you've put so much time into them that it's, not worth removing them. Every opinion is worth considering, but not every opinion is actually worth pursuing. Someone may have a good idea, but the way they suggest implementing it might not be an option. So it then becomes your job to consider and figure out how to actually implement that idea, or to simply not go forward with it and to ignore it. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Some of the ideas are probably going to be half-baked, like I said. Again, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. I actually rewrote and re-recorded a couple of sections because I thought about it and, figured out some better ways to portray my ideas, but I still don't think I got my ideas portrayed the best. I really hope this was helpful for you guys and gave you a behind the scenes look at the process that actually goes into making a homemade, not even just a homemade card game, but any kind of game in general. There's a lot more that goes into it than one might think. It's not as easy as it looks, giving stats and abilities to a cool picture of a dragon or a tank. When it comes to the entire process of the project, the time spent on the art might be the smallest and quickest when compared to the time spent on balance, or simply the time spent on testing your game. Hell, even the time spent on concept and formulating ideas and the brainstorming process. Really the only devlog of a homemade TCG that I've seen on YouTube is made by the TCG Academia, where he's making a Lovecraftian monster card game, which seems pretty cool. But that's all I really have to say. Again, I hope you guys learned something. I hope this helps inspire and helps lead to other people who are thinking about making their own card games, but were maybe on the edge because they didn't have the experience. The only way you're going to get the experience of making a card game is by making card games and failing. Not even card games, just games in general. People have varying degrees of talent. Some people are very naturally talented at something while others have to work a lot harder. But the experience regardless of your talent, comes with trying, comes with failure, comes with success. And the only way to achieve that is by doing it and getting started. That's all I've got. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye. Because you now have a stronger baseline, so you have less likely, you have you have a less likelihood. That's such a weird sentence.